Doom and gloom in the headlines might make it seem like every country is on the brink. Global pandemics, political unrest, surging inflation. Yet there's one nation quietly defying the pessimism. Australia, often dubbed the lucky country, may actually be lucky for solid reasons. In this video we'll reveal why Australia's future is shining brighter than you think, despite a strong negative outlook expressed in many recent videos and discussions. Stick around till the end, because one often overlooked advantage of Australia's unique situation might surprise you, and it could be a game-changer for the nation's long-term prosperity. All Western economies were rocked by the COVID-19 pandemic, social turbulence, and the spike of post-COVID inflation. Australia certainly felt these shocks, but not nearly as severely as many peers. Consider the pandemic. Over its entire duration, Australia's COVID-19 death rate was about 439 per million people, dramatically lower than the 3,050 per million in the United States, or 2,718 in the UK. Strict health measures helped Australia avoid the worst, and importantly, they set the stage for a swift economic rebound. After a short recession in 2020, Australia's economy rebounded quickly, driven by effective health management and fiscal stimulus, faster than many other advanced economies. On the economic front, Australia also navigated the inflation surge comparatively well. Inflation peaked at about 7.8% in late 2022, lower than the double-digit peaks seen in many Western countries like the UK, Italy, and Germany. By late 2024, Australian inflation had fallen back to 2.1%, squarely within the Reserve Bank's target range and its lowest level since 2021. For context, the UK and Eurozone were still seeing higher price growth at that time. Meanwhile, unemployment in Australia remains near historic lows, around 3.5 to 4%, and the nation experienced a much smaller increase in unemployment than most other countries during the pandemic turmoil. In short, Australia took a hit like everyone else, but rebounded faster, and with less lasting damage. Politically too, Australia has been relatively stable. While the United States and parts of Europe have grappled with intense polarization, protests, or rapid government turnovers in recent years, Australia's transitions of power have been orderly, and its democratic institutions strong. The country routinely ranks near the top globally in civil liberties, political rights, economic freedom, and quality of life. That stability is more than just a bragging point. It creates a confident environment for investment and long-term planning, giving Australia a steadiness that some other Western societies are struggling to maintain. Perhaps most impressively, Australia's economy achieved a record-breaking run of growth nearly 30 years without a recession before 2020. Even now, as the world economy faces headwinds, Australia is forecast to keep growing around 2% per year in coming years. Modest, but outpacing many peers. And unlike most advanced nations running hefty deficits, Australia's government finances are back in the black. In fact, the federal budget returned to surplus in 2023, about 0.9% of GDP, a rarity among Western countries. Decades of prudent fiscal management and a commodities boom meant public debt stayed well below the OECD average. Bottom line, the headlines might be screaming crisis, but by the numbers, Australia stands out as one of the most resilient Western economies in the post-COVID era. One of Australia's greatest long-term strengths is literally in the ground beneath its feet. The country is massively rich in natural resources, and it's not just the old staples like coal and gas. Yes, Australia rode the mining boom to great prosperity. It's the world's #2 exporter of coal and LNG, supplying energy to much of Asia. But as the world shifts toward cleaner energy, some wonder if Australia will lose its edge. The good news, Australia is already pivoting to leverage the minerals of the future. Australia is the world's leading producer of lithium, the white gold metal needed for rechargeable batteries in electric vehicles and energy storage. It alone produces roughly 48 to 52% of the world's lithium supply, more than any other country by far. And it's not just lithium. Australia also has some of the largest reserves or production of other critical minerals essential for clean technology. It's among the top 5 global producers of rare earth elements used in EV motors and wind turbines, and cobalt, needed for batteries. It also mines significant quantities of nickel, copper, aluminum, and other transition metals needed for solar panels, electric wires, and more. In short, if the world is building it, wiring it, or electrifying it, Australia likely has a piece of it in the ground. Mineral exports already make up over 2/3 of Australia's export revenue, and demand is only shifting, not disappearing. What about the old energy resources? It's true that global decarbonization is a threat to Australia's coal and gas exports in the long run. But rather than clinging to the past, Australia is moving rapidly to turn this threat into an opportunity. The government has unveiled ambitious plans to transform into a clean energy superpower. Massive investments are going into renewable energy infrastructure, from giant solar farms in the outback to wind projects, leveraging Australia's vast sun-drenched land and windy coasts. The idea is to not only clean up domestic power, but eventually export clean energy to the region. Projects like the Australia-Asia Power Link, also known as Sun Cable, aim to transmit gigawatts of solar power via undersea cable to Southeast Asia, and an even more versatile export, green hydrogen. Australia is pouring funds into a hydrogen Head Start program to produce green hydrogen from water and renewable electricity at scale. This hydrogen can be shipped as a zero-carbon fuel or used to make green ammonia, steel and other products, potentially a huge export industry by 2030. In essence, Australia is leveraging its natural advantages, abundant sun, land and minerals to stay an energy leader in the new, carbon-neutral world. For example, one government strategy notes Australia is uniquely well placed to seize the opportunities of the clean energy transition, thanks to rich geology, mining expertise and a reliable trade reputation. Even traditional mining companies are diversifying into battery metals and renewables. Far from being left behind by global trends, Australia is positioning itself as an indispensable supplier of the raw materials and clean fuels of the future. Iron ore, one of Australia's old staples, will also remain in strong demand as the world builds infrastructure, and Australia happens to be the #1 iron ore exporter as well. From steel to silicon, batteries to hydrogen, Australia's resource sector is set up to thrive in the 21st century. Minerals aren't the only game in town. Australia also happens to be an agricultural juggernaut, exporting enough food to help feed hundreds of millions of people. In fact, about 70% of Australia's agricultural production is exported abroad. Global demand for food, especially high-quality, safe food, is rising fast, and Australia is extremely well-positioned to capitalize on this trend. Australia is consistently among the world's top exporters of wheat, barley, beef, lamb, wool, sugar and dairy. For example, Australia has been one of the key grain suppliers, stepping up to maintain global food security when conflicts such as the war in Ukraine disrupted others. Monthly grain shipments in early 2023 reached an unprecedented 3 million tons of wheat, barley and canola, supplying markets from Asia to the Middle East. As one industry group noted, Australia benefits from inherent quality, food safety, and stability in its farming systems. A Made in Australia label means something in global markets. The country's huge range of climates, from tropical north to temperate south, allows it to produce a diversity of products year-round, effectively making it a food bowl for the region. With ongoing innovation in agri-tech and sustainable farming, Australia should be able to maintain high productivity even under climate challenges. The world will always need food, and likely more so, with nearly 10 billion people by 2050. Australia's fertile farms and efficient agribusinesses give it yet another pillar of strength in the future global economy. Beyond economics, some of Australia's brightest prospects lie in factors that get less press, like people and geography. One big advantage Australia holds over many Western nations is demographics. Simply put, Australia's population is still growing and relatively young, whereas many peers are stagnant or aging rapidly. Over the past 30 years, Australia's population grew about 1.4% per year on average, a healthy rate mostly thanks to immigration. This means a continually expanding workforce and consumer base in the coming decades, helping drive economic growth and support retirees. By contrast, countries like Japan and much of Europe face shrinking working-age populations and fast-rising elderly dependency. Australia's healthy demographics, more young workers relative to old, have been a key factor supporting its strong economy and government finances. Finally, here's the surprising factor we teased at the start: geography. Australia's unique geography often gets cited as a challenge, the tyranny of distance from major markets. But in the future, it could turn into a major strategic advantage. How so? Consider the looming issue of climate change and global instability. As warming, droughts, or conflicts displace populations, many Western countries could face waves of climate migrants or refugees seeking refuge. Europe, for instance, is already struggling with large-scale irregular migration due to its proximity to Africa and the Middle East. Hundreds of thousands attempt to cross the Mediterranean each year in search of safety or opportunity. the United States faces pressure at its land border from Central America. These influxes constrain social and political cohesion in receiving countries. Australia, by contrast, is an isolated island continent. It has no land borders at all, and it's surrounded by vast oceans. This geography is a natural barrier against uncontrolled mass migration. Reaching Australia unlawfully by boat is exceedingly difficult, and Australian policy has been very strict on intercepting unauthorized arrivals. The result is that Australia has almost complete control over who migrates into the country. In a future where climate-driven migration could destabilize other societies, Australia's physical remoteness provides a layer of protection and border security that few other Western nations enjoy. Even as nearby Pacific islands face climate threats, Australia can manage any resettlement in an orderly, planned fashion. In short, the tyranny of distance may become a shield of distance, insulating Australia from some of the global upheavals that might hit other countries in the years ahead. From whichever angle you look, economic resilience, resource riches, global demand for exports, population vitality, or simple geographic fortune, Australia's outlook is exceptionally positive. Challenges still exist, no country is without them, and Australia must manage climate risks, preserve its environment, and maintain social cohesion. But the narrative that Australia is headed for decline just doesn't match the evidence. In reality, Australia today combines the strengths of a stable, high-income democracy with the dynamism of a resource-rich, growing nation. The world's pivot to renewables and tech plays right into Australia's hands with its lithium and critical minerals, while billions of hungry customers ensure its farms will thrive. Its government finances are among the healthiest in the West, giving ample room to invest in the future. And its people, diverse, young, well-educated, give it a talent base ready to innovate and adapt. Add to that a touch of geographic good luck insulating it from certain global crises, and you have a nation built to weather the 21st century. So next time the headlines harp on doom and gloom, remember the other side of the story. Australia, far from faltering, is quietly building on solid foundations. If you're looking for a success story amid the global uncertainty, the lucky country might just live up to its nickname. Australia's future is bright, and that's more than media hype. It's supported by the facts and trends we've explored today. Keep an eye on Australia, because the best chapters in its story may still be ahead.